a lot of people get caught up in feeling worthless, feeling helpless. It's like, look, I don't care what you've been through, you have value.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Tea. I am your host, Tanya Tyler, and I'm excited because we're going to be talking to Miss Nichole Sims, and we're talking about career transition today and how you can maybe make that corporate switch to entrepreneurship. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome Miss Nichole to the show. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I've always admired your fierceness. It's just like you have a fierceness, and I love it. So when you accepted my invitation, I was like,
so good.
Thank you for coming on. So let's talk about first, who is Nichole and what do you do? And maybe a lesson that you've learned, maybe from the pandemic.
Ooh, from the pandemic. Okay. I have one. Okay. So first of all, I'll give you a little bit of background. So I was with Enterprise Holdings for 27 years. So Enterprise Holdings is Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Alamo Rent-A-Car, National Car Rental. Started on that journey in 94 after college. That's coming out after 6 years, 2 years undecided, a year in chemical engineering, coming to my senses after an academic probation and going into business, which is where I should have been in the first place. But back then I was extraordinarily shy. And people who know me now, they don't believe it at all, but I was very shy. And I wanted to be in advertising, but I was afraid I wouldn't be able to come up with a campaign and I was going to lose my job. These are the thoughts that were running through my head at 18, 19 years old. So finally landed in business. And advertising is a major. So I graduated with a marketing major, but never really got into advertising. I was actually going to work for Enterprise for about 3 months. That was the plan. I was going into the management trainee program. And frankly, the only reason I applied is because I went to the University of Toledo and it was going to be a means for me to get back to Cincinnati. And in 3 months, I was going to go and find a job in advertising. And I really loved what I was doing there. It was hard work, make no bones about it. You talk to anybody at Enterprise, we work hard. And but I enjoyed it. And I started moving up the ladder into management. And I did that for 3 years. And then recruiting opened up. And it actually was a really good company, but people didn't know. So I thought, well, that would be a really great way to let people know what the company actually has to offer. So I went into recruiting. The nice thing about it is it really did start kicking me out of my shell. I was coming out anyway as a manager, at Enterprise, having to deal with customers and things like that. But as a recruiter, you had to get up and do presentations and build relationships and that sort of thing. So yeah, so that really kind of kicked me out of my shell. And 2014, after I'd done several presentations at UC and all the different universities, a friend of mine worked at UC as an adjunct professor. Well, I wanted to be an adjunct. I didn't know how to go about doing that. And I gave a little, well, people kept telling me, well, you need to get your master's. You have to get your master's. And it's like, oh, do I know how to study anymore? I've been out of college an awfully long time. So I said a prayer. The Lord answers some quick prayers sometimes. My prayer was, Lord, I really don't want it. I never heard you tell me I need a master's, but if I do, I don't want to pay for it. And then a month later, I kid you not, a month later, I got an email from my friend, Debbie Puckett. And she said, have you ever thought about teaching at UC? I said, oh, you do quick work, Lord, you do quick work. So I was excited to get the email, but at the same time, I said, I don't have my master's. She said, but at that point I have 14 years of experience. So we kind of went with that. Let me know if I'm talking too much. I know it's a podcast, but Lord knows.
No, go ahead.
Put me in a ring and I will flow. So anyway, so it took a while because I'm trying to figure out, I'm working about 50 hours a week at Enterprise. How in the world am I going to teach a class? Like, they are not going to let me go teach a class at 8 a.m. or anything like that. So I'm praying on it. And then I started talking to my manager about it. I said, hey, look, I'm thinking about this and I'll be right in front of the very students that we want to hire anyway. I'll have a better relationship with UC. There's just no downside to this. And so she said, well, as long as it doesn't interfere with your job. So I'm like, okay. And that was maybe April. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I couldn't figure out when I was going to do it. So the friend reached out to me 3 more times and she said, well, how about on a Tuesday night or a Monday night? And I'm like, Monday or Tuesday night? And I'm like, recruiters, you're still doing things on Monday and Tuesday. But I checked my schedule and all my Mondays had been free. I said, praise God. Okay, I can do this. So I did that for 5 years. To take that back, 5 years. I taught a higher level course. And then, so anyway, left Enterprise December 2021. And reason being is I did not want to, well, I knew there was something next for me. I just didn't know the steps to get there. The pandemic, the lesson from the pandemic was I never want anybody else to determine whether I have a paycheck coming into my house or not. And that's when I really started looking at conferences. There's a free conference by Candace Janae that was amazing. I would have paid $1,000 for that conference. It really got me thinking about entrepreneurship. And about a year and a half later is when I ended up leaving Enterprise. So
that's amazing. Like I said, and she didn't tell you she's a fierce walker. That's the part about the walking thing. We have a connection. She hikes or walks. I just, stroll. But we love that because I've seen you in many events. And again, I love your strong faith. You have a strong faith. And I want to know sort of like, did that sort of kick in or help you take that we say, you're kicking out of your shell, having that faith base to say, I can do this, or, and we can talk more about how that works with your career, your career transition, but having faith and knowing that you're on the right path. Is that sort of what I'm hearing? Or trusting the path as it unfolds?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've known for years and that there was something more for me. Again, I didn't know what it looked like. But I was always fascinated with career. Like, okay, how does your career, it's, your career is such a big part of your life. God's got to be in that. You don't just go and get a career by happenstance and let me just go do this thing, and I've looked back at my own life and seen different steps, different things that the Lord has put me in or put me on the path. And it was guiding me. There's definitely ways that he's guiding you into what's next. So when I left, I mean, that's a scary thing after 27 years, and you're going like, Lord, okay, so I need income and I need this and the other. But thank goodness I'm one of those. I'm a debt-free person, and I'm all about get debt-free, people, get debt-free, because it's a lot easier to walk away when you have some savings and you have your 401k and your house is paid for. You don't worry about income quite as much. And when I say I felt the Lord's hand on my back, it was time to go. He was done blessing me there. So it was definitely time to go. And it was the right time. So that gave me, I've only had a couple moments of a little bit of anxiety, which surprises me. But when you know you're on the right path, you cannot fail. You can't fail. You just have to keep doing the things that you know to do so that those doors open up for you.
Right. So I know there's a ton of, as you follow and you look back on your career and you're following where you're going, what are some of the tips or maybe some things for people who are thinking about making that transition move? What would your advice be to them thinking about making that pivot, as you say?
Sure. And it's not just entrepreneurship. It's transition into a new career because you may find that, okay, there's a season in my life. And in this season, I was meant to be a teacher. And now I'm coming to a place where it's like, I'm a little bit restless and I'm not quite sure what's next. And, what is that next step? So always pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to what are the things that you enjoy doing. Like, so I look at my role. I love being a recruiter. I love the interview piece, but I like the teaching piece. I like the facilitating piece. I like getting up in front of the classroom or in front of my coworkers and training and that sort of thing. So that's just one of the gifts that I have. And so you want to pay attention to what motivates you. What do you get excited about? You want to pay attention also to things that move you emotionally speaking, whether you get excited, whether it breaks your heart, whether it causes outrage. There's a reason that you're feeling those things, and you're the person that may just have an answer to that. And I'll use as an example, I forget his name, unfortunately. I think it's Scott something, but he's the founder of Charity Water, and he was a party guy. He did event planning and that sort of thing, and threw all kinds of parties. But then he ended up going on a mission trip, I believe. And I feel like he paid to go on that mission trip. It sounds a little odd, but he went on that mission trip. I think maybe because people weren't taking him seriously. And he saw that the people in this third world country did not have water. The same water that they were bathing in and cleaning out their pots and whatnot. That's the water that they were drinking. And he just felt like, people shouldn't live this way. This is nuts. So that's why he founded Charity Water, and it moved him. He had that emotional connection that people shouldn't live that way. One of the things for me that's on the back shelf that moves me is I don't think anybody should be hungry. I just think that there's enough food that people should not only be fed, but full. And we throw so much food away in this country. That breaks my heart. So at some point, it's on a shelf right now, but that moves me for a reason. I just pay attention to it, and that's going to guide me in a direction. There could be things that you go through relationally that put you in a direction. Like you want to now be a relationship coach because of what you've been through. So any of the conflicts in your life, those aren't by happenstance either. Those are clues. So, and everybody's not going to walk the same walk that you have. You may be somebody that dealt with sickness, and because you dealt with sickness, or because you have a sibling that has special needs, well, you've got a heart for special needs. And maybe you're the best person to go and deal with special needs. Maybe you've been incarcerated. Who better to talk to people incarcerated than somebody who understands it, rather than somebody coming along that knows nothing about that. So look at your life, look at those clues, and where are they taking you? What is that next thing? And that's kind of that is what I do when I coach people, is that we walk through all of that. We're looking at our own best story. We're living our own best story. And what is our own story telling us about the next chapter in our lives?
I love it. Like I said, you dropped some gems already. And I would say, if anybody else who's listening, you've been picking up what Nichole has been dropping, please give us a thumbs up. Maybe follow down with a comment below, because I got a couple of things. It's like, take inventory of your skills. And how important is that, is to like you said, is to pay attention to the conflicts and stuff like that. So what I'm saying, and maybe clarify me, is that, like you said, nothing happens just haphazardly, right?
Right.
Everything serves a purpose, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what we compare that to, the reason I look at it that way, I'm also a writer. So I love writing. I've loved reading since I was a little thing. I was probably 8 years old when I wrote my first book. It was a gem. It was about a girl, Yvonne, whose grandmother left her a fortune of $50, So, but anyway, so I've always enjoyed writing. And when you watch a movie, when you watch a TV show, there's actually a pattern. We may not realize that there's a pattern there, but there is. And there's the hero. It's called the hero's journey. So there's the hero's journey, and every single scene that you see in a movie is there for a reason, and it's advancing that story forward. Every single thing that happens in your life is advancing your story forward. The other thing is, when there's different types of writers, but many start with the end in mind. And then they come back and then they create the character. So please understand that you are not created. You're created for the end. The end is not created for you. So you have everything in you already to get to where you need to be by the end of your lifetime. And everything that happens between birth and your passing on to the next life is guiding you in that direction. And we do get off the beaten path, but every conflict that comes in, and you're not going to have the same conflict that I have. I've been through a divorce. Not everybody's going to go through a divorce, because they don't need to be guided by having been through a divorce. So your conflicts are going to be different than mine. There are going to be ups and downs in your life. There are going to be different people that come into your life that are going to recognize things or push you in a different direction. And you're going to go through that life, and you're going to get to that expected end. And you can see those clues that are guiding you in that direction. So I use a story model when I coach, and it's a little bit different than what other people do, but it is based on living your best story, because I want to live my best story. I want to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant," when I cross over, and I get excited to see people in their element. And I realized that years ago. I was watching Johnny Gill sing. Only people that are old enough will know who Johnny Gill is, but I was watching him sing, and just like the joy that he had, because he was in that place, using that gift, doing what he was supposed to do. There is nothing like seeing somebody, in their element, knowing why they're here on earth. Because I'll tell you what, when you know why you're here on earth, you have a mission statement, the other stuff doesn't matter as much. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I'm not saying my divorce didn't hurt, but guess what? I got a mission regardless of that divorce. And I still need to go and fulfill my mission statement and help as many people as I can discover why they're here on earth. That's my mission. When I have opportunities for work that pop up, I weigh it against that mission statement. And there have been a couple of opportunities in 30 seconds time. I've looked at it, weighed against the mission statement. No, that's going to take away too much time from doing what I know I'm meant to do. And I'm able to say no. Whereas other people take weeks and weeks and weeks. And what should I do? And how should I do it? And ask 6 million people. And I don't know. And this, and I'm like, look, what's your mission? What is your mission? Does it line up with your mission? If it's a no, it's a go. Don't do it. Stay in line with the mission. So once you figure that out, I'm not going to say it's smooth sailing, but it's easier sailing because you know where you're headed, right?
I love it. Like I said, it's amazing. You're dropping gems. I've been picking up the gems, taking notes. So if you grab a pen with Miss Nichole. And I got basically 2 more questions before we wrap up. Is what's the one thing you want the audience to take away from your interview today? If there's nothing else to hear from you.
Yes, I want people to know that first of all, you are created. Okay. You are created for a reason and a purpose. Okay. A lot of people get caught up in feeling worthless, feeling helpless. It's like, look, I don't care what you've been through, you have value. And don't let anything else get you down. As far, I don't care how bad people may say, I've been through some things. Okay. Use it or it'll use you. So the things that you've been through, how do I turn this thing around? How do I turn this tragedy around and bring some good out of it, knowing that it happened for a reason? So I just want people to know that they are worthy. They have worth. The Lord has a purpose for them. They're not an accident. They weren't born in the wrong place, wrong time, or anything like that. That He has perfect timing. Okay. And He does not make mistakes. You are who you are for a reason so that you can get to that expected end. I want people to know that, because that's my heartbreak is when I see somebody, like even with my students, like one of my students said yesterday, he said he was undecided and he said he either wanted to be in real estate like his dad, or I'll just say like, HR like his mom. I said, okay. I said, no, nothing against your mom or your dad, but you are a unique individual. And there's something that only you can do. So let's discover what you're meant to do, because your dad was meant to be in real estate, more than likely. Your mom was meant to be in HR, but it could be that you're a salesman. Or it could be that you're a doctor. It could be that you're a lawyer. So let's find out why you're here, because if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And we kind of need you to do it. So I like people to know that they're necessary. And I tell students that all the time. I just see their shoulders kind of go up. It's like, if you're breathing, there's still time. I don't care if you're 80 years old listening to this. Colonel Sanders didn't start his gig until he was in his 60s. Okay. Grandma Moses, I think, was in her 80s. If you are still breathing, you are supposed to do something. Okay. So that's what I want people to know.
I love it. I love it. And Miss Nichole, where can people find more information about you, your services, and what you do?
On LinkedIn, and I like to tell people the spelling on my name is Nichole with an H. Now, my friend Nicole, who does not have an H, said there's a hole in your name. So I'll tell people there's a hole in my name, but not in my heart. And then Sims is Sims. So I'm on LinkedIn. My company is Bold Career Consulting. There's a story behind why the name is Bold. But I also have a website, Bold Career Consulting, as well. You can find me there. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation. Like I said, I took some great questions, and the one I wanted to leave the audience with, what I picked out of it was, don't ask why me, but maybe ask a question: what can I do with what I have now? Absolutely. So ask better questions is what I got from that. And again, I want to thank you so much for the insight that you shared.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
This was a pleasure. So again, thank you. I would love to, maybe my unofficial question, invite you to come back, have a deeper conversation, maybe explore some more.
Absolutely. I love it.
All right. And I also want to remind everybody who tuned in that remember, feedback is always welcome. Remember, all the links that Nichole mentioned will be posted down in the description box below. So please make sure you check out those juicy gems. If you enjoyed the gems that she dropped and you picked them up, please hit that like button. Let us know, maybe leave a comment down below. Again, if you want to get more insight like Miss Nichole has shared today, or many other great guests that we have on, please hit that subscribe button over there. And remember, take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And we will see you back here on another episode of Coffee with Tea. All right. Bye-bye.